festival was brief, but I told her I liked Storyville and the last performance, and that one of my favorite evenings in theater was Mark Twain Tonight by Hal Holbrook. He impersonated Mark Twain, and he's a master. It was one of the greatest performances I'd ever seen. This is many years ago, and I said, I'd like to do something like that. You can't do Mark Twain, but maybe find an author other than myself to impersonate. And I don't think we have time for it, but I have a little piece by William Faulkner that I might try. But I think to introduce myself, I'll impersonate myself. And this is a short essay that I wrote about a meeting or an experience over in the Hermosa River Canyon near Durango. Great place to fish, and I like to go there sometimes, backpack in there and camp. And in this case, I was fishing downstream from my camp, and I from the river as I fished, I saw a sharp yellow flame upstream. A smoke rope ascended to heaven, and it was absolutely still. It was the evening. It was cool. She was sitting on her heels, feeding sticks into a tiny fire. She saw me and stood. She looked so surprisingly great in her gray walking shorts and gray fleece with a strange logo on it that she made me lose a number 12 mayfly in the willows. And I reeled it in and walked in my wet running shoes up the bank to where she was camped ever so invisibly, as if there were no camp. A hard conversation began in my language, not hers. We searched for common words. It seemed she was European, and she was tracking, she said, across North America. She had come to the wilderness to see if these San Juan Mountains were as empty as she had heard. And she wanted to build a fire. See, she had never been permitted in her trekking around the world to build an open fire. Not in the Alps, not in the Himalaya, not in Yosemite, not on the Olympic Peninsula, not in the Canadian Rockies. But now she had one, and these mountains were as empty as everyone said. I watched as she fed the flames in the descending darkness. I recalled being young in New Mexico and newly married, splitting pinyon pine. I recalled the fragrance of the sap and the seductive promises of a glow in the belly of a airtight stove surrounded by warm adobe walls through a long cold night. I recalled stacking this wood in the autumn in the sun and feeling guilty. See, the pinyon pine was vanishing even then, even before the current devastation and drought. And it was so necessary, that wood, that aromatic little nut-filled New Mexico tree that ignited with the touch of a match. And it was free in the national forests and everywhere. Damn, you gotta love the American West, huh? Everything was free, and abundance made the American people free. Financed 400 years of frontier expansion and exploit and killing. And now, even at the heart of the big empty West, the wealth was gone. The regional historian David Lavender, who grew up in Telluride, said, "An untrammeled access to fortuitous natural resources has been, for much too long a time, what the West is all about." And Wallace Stegner, he grew up in Saskatchewan in Utah, said, "There are two things that growing up in the West on a belated frontier gave me: an acquaintance with the wild and wild creatures, and guilt for my part in their destruction." Frank Waters, the New Mexico writer, said, "Change, constant change, is the law of life. Everything is different, yet everything is the same." The American West reflects this paradox. It shows the ever-changing present and somehow embodies an eternal existence at the same time. We can hope that, as the Hopis say, the spirit that imbues the land will outlast the change. So we sat by the fire, and she wondered, in my language, if Americans could or would or wanted to save the West. And I wondered, who is this woman?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Thank you.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That was good.